We're live.
We're live.
We're late, but we're live. It's still Thursday. It's afternoon.
Thursday. Yeah, it's almost 4. That's
Almost
okay.
4.
I had some meetings,
Yeah,
you know.
it's a busy time.
Yeah, so yeah, I just had a meeting with one of the artists I'm working with,
Nice.
doing some consulting, you know. So as always, we're gonna do the
Official intro?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you know, you do it.
I'm Cam from Indie Week.
I'm Darryl from Indie Week, and we're at the Indie Week office, corner of
York and Adelaide.
York and Richmond.
York and Richmond. No wonder I was late this morning.
Yep.
Yeah, beautiful downtown Toronto. A little cooler out today than it was last week. But
Yeah,
we got big announcement coming up today.
we have lots of stuff.
Yeah, we have all sorts of things to
We
talk
have a
about.
cool announcement today.
Yeah, but first I think we should start with a beverage. You could lead.
Yep, I'm doing Jack Daniels, Jack Apple.
Jack Apple.
I gotta get that right there. And you are?
I'm having a collective. Look at the beautiful can on this. A collective arts who do different labels. They curate bands and artists to do labels, and this is Prophets and Nomads. It's pink Himalayan salt and coriander, which is it's interesting. But
Yeah. Good beer?
it's interesting. It's a little salty,
Yeah.
but
It's different.
it's different. It's not like my normal, stouty, heavy beers, but
Yeah.
it would be refreshing over ice, I think, in the summer. Yeah.
The Jack Apple is really sweet.
Really?
Yeah, it's good. This would be amazing over ice on a hot summer day. So
I don't think there's anything Jack doesn't go with, so. Iced tea, Jack and Cokes, Jack and Diet, Jack and Ginger,
yeah, and
Jack Neat, like
you know,
Frank Sinatra.
we're very lucky to have them on board as one of our sponsors.
Yes.
And so always shout out to Jack Daniels for thank you ongoing support.
Been with us for a long time now.
This is our 7th year with Jack Daniels.
Old number 7.
That's it exactly.
Rather apropos.
All right, so
Last week,
what did we do last week?
you went to a party last Friday.
Yeah, Olay had a party, basically a shindig down at the Ritz on Front Street, I think.
The
or
Ritz-Carlton
Ritz-Carlton,
Hotel?
yeah.
Beautiful,
Wellington.
beautiful hotel.
And got to see a whole bunch of friends, Greg Godovitz was there, Andy Curran, Andy Hawk, who's now at Olay,
Yep.
which was good to see him, and he's doing well.
Robert Ott was probably there, I assume. They may have
Yes.
founded the company, one of the co-founders, and an old contemporary of mine from the BMG days. He ran the publishing department when I was doing artist relations.
Yeah, no, it's a good party. And, they made a couple announcements and had a couple performances, and so it was good.
And then they were probably heading off to the Ontario Country Music Association Awards. 'cause they-
CMAOs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They,
which went on throughout the weekend. I was going to go to that, but I ended up at
Sound of Music
Sound
Festival.
of Music in Burlington because our friends Sumo Psycho was playing, and also Killer Dwarfs. My other brother Darryl was playing, and I also got to meet Leahy from Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, Mr. Leahy.
Yeah,
Cool.
so it was fun. I got burnt. You could see I'm all red.
And Randy was there too, right?
Yep.
I golfed with Randy one year, which was so funny, at a Puma golf tournament for Sheila, who still works with the Trailer Park Boys, and actually Freedom 35 beer. And
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I golfed with Randy. Oh my God, they made him put a shirt on the golf course because he was just there in skin tight white pants, and it was hilarious. Lot of fun.
Yeah, so that was a good day, and I think the next the next day I really sort of just stopped at a Memphis barbecue just outside Hamilton. I'm a foodie,
Nice.
and so yeah, I had to make that stop. It was awesome. I'm going back. That is good.
Well, you can go back to Sound of Burlington. Now it's all free because that was the
Yeah.
big ticketed show. So if I'm not mistaken, I think the Trues are playing tonight or tomorrow night. So
Right.
there's a great lineup. Just go to soundofmusic.ca and you can see everyone who's playing, and you
Yeah.
can attest it's a great location and it's beautiful.
And Ascot Royals, I believe, are this week too.
Are they playing? Yeah, there's a lot of bands. They do a great, Ryan and everyone does a great job of programming over there.
Ryan was great. Yeah, he treated me well. It was great. So,
Nice.
what were you up to?
I was getting older.
That is true.
It was birthday
I wasn't
week.
sure if you wanted to mention that.
Oh, sure, it's public knowledge. God, there was thank you to everyone on Facebook. There was like close to 400 people. It was just like utterly embarrassing. Not embarrassing, but it was very much appreciated. So thank you for everyone. And we went out for some Jack Daniels the other night, as a matter of fact.
We went out for some Jack Daniels for celebrating your birthday.
Yes. And then it was lovely. I got together on the weekend with Hugh Dillon from the Headstones, because we really haven't had a chance in years, but he's been so busy with his career and whatever I've been doing, different jobs outside of being here.
Right.
We just haven't had to sit down to see each other socially. So we just got together on the beach and had a coffee and caught up on his career, and really enjoying their new album, Little Army.
Yeah.
There's a great song called Kingston on it. I'll talk about that a bit more in a few minutes. But we had some sad news on Tuesday that Mark Gibson, the original drummer when I signed the band, passed away suddenly. So if you go to the band's website or Facebook page, there's a couple pictures and a little remembrance of Mark. But he was one of the original three. It was Trent, it was Hugh, and it was Mark. Bass players were sort of in and out at the beginning on the first album. I think we had Brad from Chalk Circle for a little while.
Okay.
And then Tim came into the picture, and Tim is still there, of course. And, but yeah, it was really nice to catch up with Hugh, and it was just unfortunate that 2 days later we got the sad news about Mark. So, but this song Kingston, it talks about, that's where Hugh grew up and actually spent some time in Odessa. Went to school with my cousin Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Where Logan Brown knows that neck of the woods as well. But Hugh was a young punk in Kingston, hung around at all the different bars, at Toucan, and I forget what the hotel was called. But he wrote a song about it, and about getting an inspirational letter from his classmate and hockey friend Gord Downey. That's part of this song. It's very sort of Tweeter and the Monkey Man, without any of the what that story is about it. But it's sort of the way Hugh tells the story in the song is very reminiscent of Tweeter to me back from the first album. Right. And there's some great news about Gord Downey and the Tragically Hip today. They're going to become members of the Order of Canada, which is fantastic. It's long overdue. After the tour last year, a petition went out to get the Tragically Hip their Order of Canada.
Oh, really?
And 75,000 Canadians signed it, so it shows you that...
wow, that tour really brought the country together.
It did. It was amazing. And I think there's a documentary coming up that's Bell Media Commission that'll be coming out on CTV this fall as well. Right. Which is great. That both of our, two of our three national networks, I guess, have. Yeah. The CBC did obviously a lot across the country, and now to have a doc on it as well. Yeah. It'd be very cool to see.
Yeah, well, with Gord and all the stuff that's going on, I think it is due, but sometimes with that stuff, people wait too long, you know, and I think it's good to kind of push that through right away, and not wait.
And I think regardless of whatever health issues are going on right now, they deserve it. It's the Tragically Hip. There's not a more iconic Canadian band, and hasn't been probably since the Guess Who. Right. In a lot of ways, or Rush, but there's you can name them on one hand, the bands that everyone across this country knows and loves, or their parents knew and loved.
I'd say even Tragically Hip's even bigger than Guess Who, probably.
Depends on your generation. So someone my age, they were huge. They were the first Canadian band to go #1 on Billboard, with American Woman in 1970.
Right. But I guess from my point of view, it's just more like Tragically Hip stayed Canadian. I think Guess Who also found a lot of success outside of Canada, where Tragically Hip kind of this is their homeland, and they've stayed here.
They had pockets of success in the States, and they always did great in Boston, a couple other college towns. Right. But yeah, they are Canadian through and through.
Through and through.
And good friends of the Headstones, and they helped the Headstones out. And Hugh was telling a story on Q couple weeks ago about when I was going to go sign them. I'd already done the initial I want them, and brought the record company down. The president and the vice president, head of marketing and stuff. And Gord and Paul showed up at that gig, and that really validated them in the eyes of MCA with all the executives at the Hip. Had the Headstones back. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was very cool.
Well, it's good that you got to reconnect.
Yeah, it was good. It was you just don't get that time anymore with anyone. A lot of my old friends and artists that I work with, where you can just sit down, there's no distractions, there's no publicists, there's no one else there. You don't have to rush for a gig or whatever, just to sit down
and chat.
Shoot the crap.
Yeah.
Because I don't swear. Not on TV anyways. I know it's just on TV, but
Yeah.
And then the HIP were also the long list for the Polaris Music Prize came out. I guess yesterday, or maybe I think it was yesterday.
I think it's yesterday.
Yeah. So the 40 albums that are on the long list, an eclectic group as always. The HIP is up for Man Machine Poet, and Gord is up for Secret Path as well.
Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen, the oldest nominee ever.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, well 83 he would have been. Of course, at the weekend, Drake, Feist, Carly Rae Jepsen's on the long list.
Mm-hmm.
A couple, you can debate this all day and night. And I was originally the first year or two, I think, when I worked at XM, I was on the Polaris jury.
Right.
Because I was allowed to be, because I had no vested interest. I was a broadcaster. You can be a broadcaster or a journalist, or there's other things, but you can't be a manager or a publicist when you have a vested interest in a band. They keep it really clean.
Right.
Steve Jordan does a fantastic job with that. So yeah, it's up to these 150 people or so, and it's an interesting list every year. But a couple of exceptions, sorry. I was surprised that neither July Talk or Dirty Nil made the 40 list.
Yeah. I thought July Talk for sure.
Yeah, and both great albums.
Yeah.
Dirty Nil has gone from garages to, opening in arenas now. I think I'm pretty sure they went out. Did they do the Billy Talent Tour in Europe?
I think
If
so.
I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Yeah.
So the short list will come out on July 13th, the top 10 list, and that's where you get into the money. There's $3,000 for the bands who are second to 10th
Right.
on the final night of the vote, compliments of Slate Music, and then $50,000 for the winner. And the awards will be September 18th, and I imagine it'll be at the Carlou again. It seems
Probably,
to be
yeah.
every year they found their home there. So it'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see who comes down in the top 10 this year.
Yeah, I was there a couple of years ago, and Buffy St. Marie won, and it was amazing to watch. So at the awards, if you haven't been or seen, it's all the sort of guess the finalists, and then they're sort of voted on that night as to who's winning, right?
There's a super jury of usually
Yeah.
6 to 10 people, I believe, who sit sequestered in a room and watch the performance. Or actually, they don't even watch the performance. They're not watching the performance, I don't
Yeah.
think, because that shouldn't have any bearing on the merit of the album. I
Okay.
think they just debate during the course while the public's watching the performances
Okay.
and fight and get it down to their number one.
Yeah, and Buffy St. Marie won that year, and it was sort of funny. She was the first performer as well, and I was blown away, and I wasn't expecting it. And the rest of the night, I was like, yeah, not as good, and I really thought the right artist won. So I know there's always sort of
Oh, there's always
People-
question about it. Yeah.
wondering what and this. So it'll be interesting this year. And July Talk I think should have been on that list. That's just that's my view.
Yeah, because they had two. I think they had two in the top 10 or top 20 at the Prism Prize
Yeah,
with their videos and stuff. And it was a great record. It still is.
they're great. I hear it every day on the radio.
No question.
Yep.
So should we make our first announcement?
Sure. So basically, for those who are in Quebec, one of the things we're doing this year slightly different is one of our Road to Indie Week series. And Road to Indie Week is basically having showcases in a local territory where artists are selected to come and showcase at Indie Week. So you can go to rtiw.indieweek.com for more information, and if you're from Quebec, you can apply. It's like $10.
Yeah, and you have till August 11th.
Yeah, and so there's two shows. There'll be 4 to 5 bands on each show. One is in September, one's in October.
Saturday, September 9th and Saturday, October 7th at Club Lambie, which is one of my favorite clubs in Montreal.
Okay, and then basically 2 acts from each of those nights will be selected to come to Toronto and showcase. So we have a Quebec showcase this year at Indie Week, which is
That's cool.
pretty exciting.
Yeah.
We always have great Quebec artists applying, and this is a way for us to actually, try to see them first, because it's really hard to judge when there's so many good bands. And and basically Red Jam Records is our presenters, as well as Syncopated in Montreal. They're the ones handling the details there. So thank you to Pat
Pat Russ.
and the gang, right? So yeah, that's launching right now, and just go to rtiw.indieweek.com.
So we have more stuff to listen to.
We'll have more stuff to listen to. Yeah, we're listening to a lot right now.
We are listening to a lot of stuff.
I listened to a lot over the last week. Wow, lots of bands.
Yeah.
Man, there's some good songs and good bands. There's some I want to say, but I don't think we can yet, right? But we haven't announced bands for Indie Week. But man, some of them are awesome.
But if you want to hear a lot of the bands who've applied, they're on our Spotify weekly playlist, which come out every Monday morning, and they're on our website.
That's right.
And there's 2 Spotify lists every week. There's one of bands who have applied to Indie Week, and then there's the Buzz Bands of the Week.
That's right. So it's a great way to discover new music and also support indie, right?
Exactly.
You know,
and then help have to listen to what else everyone else is listening to.
Yeah.
You know, be it the new Foo Fighters or new Steve Earle or whoever. There's all sorts of cool Buzz stuff.
Some of the bands we listened to this week, I can hardly wait to announce or put out there. Like, oh, I'm so psyched about it. Like, it's good. And I love that this part, you know, like we're scheduling out all the artists right now, and these ones that we've listened to, there's still a lot more to go through. But yeah, this is an exciting time to see it build, and we're going to have a great lineup this year.
Unbelievable. And you still have time to apply. You have till July 11th, if not
July 11th,
mistaken.
yeah.
So yeah. Even if you don't, when we make our first announcement, don't be crestfallen if you're not on the first announcement list, because it's just the first announcement.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not picking everyone before deadline is due. There'll be a couple more announcements after that as we pick the lineup. So
absolutely,
you may have been selected, but you might not make the first announcement. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, it's going to be awesome. So what's next on our list?
I don't know. When we're not listening to music, I'm reading about music. This is the book of the week, Paul McCartney by Philip Norman, who's a great writer. He's written a great book on John Lennon. He wrote Shout about the Beatles. He's written about Stones. It's a big sucker. It's 800 pages.
I was going to say,
I've probably
huge.
I've probably read 40 Beatles books on individual Beatles and the band and all sorts of things. And this is one of the best. He's just a great writer. Paul was probably number 4 on my favorite Beatles list. But that doesn't just dissuade me from reading, because I just want to read more, and I'm finding out things in here that I didn't know about Paul, and I thought I knew everything. But
right,
it's quite a good read, so I'm enjoying that. What's next? What have we got going on tonight? We have our friend Riddlin' Boy.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Dinsdale is over at Cherry Cola's. If you like Ramonesy Clash punk rock.
Yep.
Riddlin' Boy is the answer, over at Cherry's.
We saw them at Horseshoe.
At the Horseshoe, yeah, a couple months ago, the album release party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. What else do we have?
North by.
North by starts, I guess, officially tomorrow night. The Clubland portion of it starts. A lot of our favorite venues will be open until 4 o'clock for the next 10 nights. And we'll be out there checking out some bands, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, in fact, I just got a text from our friends at the Hideout. This is a shout out to Philip, Jimmy, and Danny.
All the good boys.
Yeah. Basically, Phil just messaged me Monday. They're having an industry night, and I believe 9 p.m. till midnight. They're going to do Buckashuck oysters, some flared cocktail, the whole bartender doing all this stuff.
Tom Cruise cocktail, the movie, was shot in Toronto.
So Monday is the Hideout's the place to be, 9 to 12, and then they're open to 4 as well.
Yeah.
So what happens after midnight happens after midnight.
As it stays after midnight. What happens after midnight?
Yeah.
One of our favorite bands, the Lazies, are on tour right now as well. If you just go to their website or go to their Facebook page, they are just one of the great rock and roll bands out there right now.
Love these guys.
Leon and Maddie and the boys.
They're such good guys.
Yeah.
They're like true rock and roll through and through.
Yeah, a switch goes off when they hit stage. It's just boom.
Yeah. Please go see the Lazies and support these guys.
And if you're standing near the bar, hold your drink in your hand when you see Maddie coming running towards you.
Yep. When I was booking at the Rivoli, we had the Lazies do an afternoon matinee. I think it was during North by, and I was at a different party, and our sound tech Lauren text messages me a photo, and it's like, this is happening at your bar right now, and it's like guitarist on the stage, not on stage, sorry, on the bar, going crazy at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It was awesome.
I've even seen him get up on the bar at the Horseshoe as well, and it's not that high.
No.
It's about as tall as Teddy.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit taller than that. He's just crouched down. And
Yeah.
I want to
Sounds
wish some luck to some of our friends are curating shows. Some well-known artists at North by Northeast. They're having a little special their night. So like Ian DeSaw and Leah Faye from July Talk, Brendan Canning, Mo Berg, Brendan Canning from Broken Social Scene, and a few others. So they're doing bands that they've picked and want to see or think fit together. They're programming.
Yeah.
Maybe they're learning how hard it is.
No, it'll be good. It'll be good.
And then next weekend, the big 3 nights at Portland's, for the
Right.
big shows with I forget the headliners. Oh my goodness, 3 big days at Portland's. Here we go. Post Malone, K Tronada, Passion Pit are the headliners, and there's lots of other good bands playing.
Right.
Down at Club. I didn't make it down there not Clubland, Portland's. I didn't make it down there last year, so I haven't seen the setup. So hopefully I'll maybe wander over next weekend, see what happens.
Possibly.
Yeah. So good luck to Michael and his team over at North by.
Yep.
Hope they have a good week. Honeybeard. Honeybeard are going to be playing on July 29th at the Horseshoe.
Right.
My friends Honeybeard. I really like their album. One of their songs, Dreamless, keeps coming up on my iPod, and it's just like every time I hear it, it's like, oh, this song is so good.
Yeah.
And then Munizo are playing their very last show in Toronto on June 23rd at the Horseshoe before they have to head back to Japan. So
That's like next Friday. It's like a
don't
week
make
away.
me do math.
Yeah.
It'll be next Friday night.
Yeah.
Because, 16th is this Friday. It's my son's birthday. Happy birthday, Kyle. I'll see you tomorrow night. And they're on early. They're on at 9 o'clock that night. So it'll be the last time. And I know a lot of our Indie Week friends will be there because they made a lot of friends from the Indie Week family.
Munizo came in second, and a lot of people thought they should have come in first. And
it was a battle.
It was close, and that's what makes it interesting. And actually, to me, that's a good sign. Like that, there's a lot of good music out there, and it's hard to decide. So
Yeah, so good luck to the boys. Safe travels home. We'll see you next Friday night.
Doing a cheers?
Yeah,
Cheers
thanks
to
for
Munizo.
everything you've done for Indie Week and waving our banner while you've been in our city.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then probably the sad news now, right?
The sad news, yeah. This is why
More sad news.
This is why I'm wearing this today. The Gooners, everyone knows Arsenal is my team, and it's because of this man, Nigel Grange, who passed away this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Nigel came over. He was a keynote speaker 3 years ago at Indie Week. And actually, I don't think I've ever asked you this question because I knew Nigel for a lot of years before that. I've known him since the late '80s. But how did he end up being a keynote? Because I was just coming in to help with the film festival at that point. So
basically, an associate in Ireland, Patrick, who was running a company called Chirpy at the time, mentioned that he was friends with Nigel and would get us in touch. And Patrick came over that year, right? So he was one of our panelists and judges as well. And he was actually quite instrumental in helping out in Ireland that year. And I think that was our last year in Ireland, to tell you the truth. Mojo Go-Go was the winning act. And so I just reached out to Nigel, and he's like, he has family here, so he's like, sure, I'll come and visit family and participate. And he's one of the, when you meet really class acts, and like you could tell this is a true professional. He takes things very seriously. He has a very strong opinion at times. But
if you suck, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
If you're banned, he has no qualms. Never did.
Never. And there's just a level of respect immediately, right off the bat. And his list of accomplishments is like as big as they get, I'd say.
Yeah, Thin Lizzy being one of his first signings, 10cc, Steve Miller Band. He worked on the London Sessions Chuck Berry record with his friend in Toronto, Phil Lubman.
Yeah. Water Boys.
Then started, Enzyme Records, which is Nigel Sign's Enzyme.
Yeah.
Water Boys, World Party, Sinead O'Connor. And as I said in the little story I wrote about him on our website, it was so much more to me about the other bands. Like I loved working with all those bands and was very close to quite a few of them. But it was the quirky little bands like Stump and the Blue Airplanes and the Bible that I just loved.
Yeah.
And just to preface this, I helped. I was a Chrysalis product manager at MCA Records, and Enzyme was one of the labels. So Nigel and I worked together a lot. And he spent probably extra time in Toronto because he had family here. So every time he came over to North America, he would always come to Toronto. So I got to spend a lot of time with him.
Right.
And we kept in touch long after we weren't working together. And I was thrilled, 3 years ago when I saw Nigel's coming. Oh my God, I haven't seen Nigel for a couple of years. And we went and had lunch and caught up.
It was great. And the other thing too is like Chris Burkett, who has been a speaker for us, and he also did, like, he went to Manchester with us. He worked like on the Sinead O'Connor album.
He worked on the line on the Cobra and the second album as well.
Yeah, and he did a few other things with Nigel, and they hadn't seen each other for many years either. So it was kind of cool being in that hotel lobby when I think you were there at that moment too, where like everybody was kind of like together all at once, and
Chris's son knew Uncle Nigel.
Exactly. So that was kind of cool, actually. That was a cool moment to just sort of see that, like I had this conversation with a few people this week where, Indie Week is a festival, and there's many events, and the one thing I feel about conferences, festivals, is it's actually bigger than shows. It's actually bringing people together, and it's cool, like building relationships and maintaining that, and it's friendships, So that was very cool, like to see that actually happen, and I out of running this whole festival for 14 years, those are the type of memories I have. Like, there's bands that are great and there's these moments, but it's also, the people interactions, and that was a big one for me. Because I would message Nigel every once in a while in emails. He would respond like right away. I couldn't believe that. And the one thing he was known for is he has these playlists. Yeah. So every once in a while I'd be like, "Hey Nigel, what's on the playlist this week?" And he'd send me like the songs. And some of them I'm like, "Wow, you're really that's kind of out there, Nigel. Like that's kind of quirky." And plus he did the helped with the soundtrack, with curating the soundtrack for vinyl.
Well, yeah, it was more than just curating the soundtrack. He was one of the historians, because he was a record company guy back in 1973. So when they're going for authenticity and certain things and making sure the timelines were correct, and it was historical fiction vinyl. I really liked it. Right. I'm sorry what anyone says. Vinyl was an HBO series. Yeah. Bobby Cannavale was the lead in it. It ran for one season. It didn't get renewed, unfortunately. It was Martin Scorsese and Mick Jagger who were executive producers. I thought it was great, but it was a huge budget. I think even clearing the music was very expensive. Yeah. And unfortunately, everything today is like that. If you haven't got the numbers, it's like, you don't get your third album. Vinyl got to release one album. Didn't get a chance to make their great record, their third or fourth album. He was so excited when he was in Toronto telling me about that series. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, you're working with Martin and Jagger. And
oh yeah, well we traded some emails back and forth right before it was coming out. And like they had that big sort of launch party in New York. And so it was cool.
I really enjoyed the series and thought he did a great job, and Danny Goldberg was involved as well. And it was just tragic. I found out shortly after my coffee with Hugh, and I looked at something online, and it was from my old friend Mike Bone, who was the president of Chrysalis in North America and still a dear friend. And he was saying something about Nigel in the past tense. It was just like, hang on. Yeah. Scroll. Go to his page. Wham. Oh my God, we've lost him. And I immediately sat and ordered a beer and started texting Faulkner O'Kelly, who was Boomtown Rats manager and Sinead's manager, just saying, I just needed someone to talk to and check in with, that people that we all knew from back in the day, and it was so nice. Mike was in Israel with the family and still is, and he texted back from Israel probably in 45 seconds. It was just unbelievable. Karen Bliss did a great piece in Billboard magazine that I retweeted at CC59. There's a great story in the LA Times on Nigel. And then his brother, Sir Lucian Grange, his baby brother, who's the CEO of Universal Worldwide, just sent out a beautiful remembrance of his brother that's all over online. And we can probably find a way to post these things as well.
Sure.
But just a true old school record guy who lived and breathed it. And if it wasn't for Indie Week, I probably wouldn't have got to see him a couple of years ago. And
well, Karen Bliss had messaged, and I posted on hers, and she said she met Nigel because of Indie Week,
and she was family.
So like she was saying how they judged basically the finals at Mod Club, and that's what I mean. It's all said and done. It's like those personal relationships. That's kind of cool, to be a part of. And Nigel, like I said, like it was just great to get to know him a bit, and for that even short moment. And I remember like he was talking about a story of him and Thin Lizzy, and I don't know, like repeat some of this, but
it's kind
of like he's just sort of basically kind of gave them shit because they didn't have the songs when they came to him, and he made them go back and just redo everything, and those are the hits that came out.
Doesn't surprise me. He was, you say opinionated, but his brother said it so eloquently. Nigel signed bands he liked. He didn't care if anyone else liked them.
Yeah.
He signed music for himself, and that's, you don't sell to trends. You don't play to trends. If you're a band, you don't fall into trends if you can. Play music that you believe in, and hopefully there'll be an audience for it. And Nigel said, I was lucky enough I was wrong so many times, but I was right enough to make a good living out of it. So,
well, that Sinead.
12 million records.
Yeah. Huge.
Of course, we already had a gold record in Canada before. Nothing compares to you, because once again, going back to that story, I remember the video coming in a marketing meeting of Troy from The Lion and the Cobra, and there's this bald woman in flames in gold paint singing this incredible song. I just went, what is this? Is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I had to do a lot of convincing of the higher ups at the label that we were going to market this and spend money and put it out, and ultimately it was very successful. So, and then Nothing Compares to You comes. It's just like, bam.
Prince song, right?
Huge. It was actually Prince wrote it, but it was originally recorded by a band called The Family.
Okay.
Which was under the Prince, Paisley Park umbrella and stuff.
Yeah.
But, and then the video just sold it, and that was, I know this is a fact, not exactly what she was going through, but I was privy to a few things.
Right.
And when that tear came down, that was not a scripted tear.
Right.
And that's what the hook was in the video in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I miss a bit of those days where video was a big part of the story and introducing artists. And
when you used to go watch Much Music or MTV, and
you didn't have quick access to everything. Like it meant something when you saw it. Now I just look it up on YouTube. And
it's immediate. Queens of the Stone Age song came out at 11 o'clock this morning. The lyric video is online at 11:03. It's a great song, and they're coming to the Budweiser stage in September, by the way.
Well, like U2 is playing next week, and I'm going, right? But I've seen
That's the Irish band, right?
And I've seen that concert probably 5 times already. Like I've seen every.
Yeah.
I've seen the Bonnaroo set. I've seen their set at Houston. Because it's all online, song by song. You could watch it all.
So you have done that? You've watched it
all?
Yeah,
I've seen it all. Yeah.
So you know the song order?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Exit is probably one of my favorite songs. And I actually kind of like also, this is my YouTube fan coming out, but I actually know which concert had the best performance of certain songs so far.
So you're happy with the set list?
They're lacking a lot of certain songs, but I understand that this is like they did the whole Joshua Tree, so that takes up a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of like are doing a little bit of more of the older stuff. So I get that.
I was at MCA at that point. I wasn't the island product manager; they had their own office, but that was such a huge album for us. Just the the marketing campaign that went on behind that thing, and that was the album that just took them from there to there.
Yeah.
Took them from arenas to stadiums.
Yeah.
And if I had to pick a U2, I still think I Will Follow is the best song they've ever written, but I think that about so many bands, their first single. But if I had to pick one U2 album to go away with, I would take the Joshua Tree.
Ooh, I don't know if I could pick one. That's
If you had to. I
don't know if I could.
No, you have no choice. You can pick one.
You know I'm difficult. I break rules, right? Yeah. No, I don't know. It'd be tough, you know. And if you look up like on Wikipedia, because I have, right, the numbers of sales that they have consistent album after album is just unreal. Like what they've done for their career, what a benchmark they've set for other artists to even try to come close to. It's unreal. Like,
they've come a long way from the El Macombo in their first Toronto show.
That's right. Yeah, you know, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I'm looking forward to the show. I've seen them since the pop tour. I've seen everyone after.
Is it ACC or Rogers?
ACC.
ACC. Oh, so that's nice. It's a little more intimate than 50,000 people at.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Rogers.
So looking forward to it.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's
you know how much it means to you. So speaking of Irish, I think. No, that was a wrong segue. Never mind.
Okay.
No, I was thinking Boomtown Rats and stuff like that. But
yeah.
anyways, I guess we're done. And
Yeah.
just, I want to say thank you to Nigel for being a friend, and
Absolutely. And
cheers to Indie Week for having him and
yeah.
reconnecting.
And you know, like again, for us, like for him to say yes, he'll come and talk at our conference. Unreal.
So you never know who's going to speak at Indie 101, and like you'll never get the opportunity to see Nigel again. But whoever we had this year, Nigel was a huge person. We get key people that are important and can teach you a lot. So pay attention when we start making those announcements. And
so have a good weekend. Let's end on a happy note.
yes, happy birthday to Kyle again. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and
all right,
to my dad, happy Father's Day.
So we'll see you next Thursday. Probably around 2, but maybe after.
Yeah, sometime. Thanks. Bye. Cheers.